A man from Texas is vacationing in Mexico. He spends his day roaming around taking in the sights. In the evening, he goes to a fancy restaurant for dinner. As he sits there sipping his tequila, he notices that the couple at the table next to him are being served a beautifully garnished dish with 2 gigantic meatballs in the middle. When the waiter asks him for his order, the man asks him about the meatball dish. The waiter replied,
"Ah, senor, you have excellent taste. Those are called cajones de toro, bull's testicles from the bullfight this morning. The real delicacy."
The Texan said, "Well, what the heck, bring me an order." The waiter replied,
"I am so sorry, senor. There is only 1 serving per day because there is only 1 bullfight each morning. If you come early tomorrow and place your order, we will be sure to save you this delicacy."
The next morning, the man returned, placed his order, and that evening he was served the one and only special delicacy of the day. After taking a few bites and inspecting his platter, he called to the waiter and said,
"These are delicious, but they're much, much smaller than the ones I saw you serve yesterday."
The waiter shrugged his shoulders and said,
"Si, senor. Sometimes the bull wins."
A cowboy on a long journey stops at a small town for a beer. He ties his horse up outside the saloon and enters. The townsfolk eye him uneasily, but he makes his way to the bar and orders a beer. The bartender opens his beer, sets it down on the table and says,
"I'd be careful if I was you. Townsfolk don't take kindly to newcomers. They give 'em a hard time."
"Is that so?"
replies the cowboy as he rests his head on his fist and sips his beer. The bartender turns around, rolling his eyes. The cowboy finishes his beer, then decides to carry on his journey. However, as he steps outside, he finds his horse is missing. The cowboy storms back into the bar, draws his pistol, and fires it into the ceiling. Then he yells,
"All right, which one of you sidewinders stole my horse?"
The townsfolk looked between each other and then back at the cowboy. You could hear a pin drop.
"So nobody knows? All right, well, I'm going to have myself another beer. If my horse still ain't there when I'm done, I'm going to have to do what I done in Texas. And I don't like having to do what I done in Texas."
The cowboy finishes his beer, goes outside, and like magic, his horse is back. The cowboy gets back on his horse and begins riding out of town. Suddenly, the bartender runs outside and calls out to the cowboy,
"Excuse me, sir, I gots to know, what'd you have to do back in Texas?"
The cowboy turns around, looks at the bartender, and says, "Well, I walked home." A big city lawyer went duck hunting in rural North Alberta. He shot and dropped a bird, but it fell into a farmer's field on the other side of a fence. As the lawyer climbed over the fence, an elderly farmer drove up on his tractor and asked him what he was doing. The lawyer responded, "I shot a duck and it fell in this field, and now I'm going to retrieve it." The old farmer Peter replied,
"This is my property and you're not coming over here."
The indignant lawyer said,
"I am one of the best trial lawyers in Canada. And if you don't let me get that duck, I'll sue you and take everything you own."
The old farmer smiled and said,
"Apparently, you don't know how we settle disputes in Alberta. We settle small disagreements like this with the 3-kick rule."
The lawyer asked, "What is the 3-kick rule?" The farmer replied,
"Well, because the dispute occurs on my land, I get to go first. I kick you 3 times, and then you kick me 3 times, and so on, until someone gives up."
The lawyer thought about the proposed contest and decided that he could easily take the old codger. So he agreed to abide by the local custom. The old farmer slowly climbed down from the tractor and walked up to the attorney. His first kick planted the toe of his heavy steel-toed work boot right into the lawyer's groin and dropped him to his knees. His second kick to the midriff sent the lawyer's last meal gushing from his mouth. The lawyer was on all fours when the farmer's third kick to his rear end sent him face first into a fresh cow pie. Summoning every bit of his will and remaining strength, the lawyer very slowly managed to get to his feet. Wiping his face with the arm of his jacket, he said, "Okay, you old fart, now it's my turn." The old farmer smiled and said,
"You can have the duck."
A guy dies, goes to hell, and meets Satan. Satan says to the man,
"Nowadays, people entering hell can choose their own personal hell. I will take you to a series of doors, and you will look inside. Then tell me if that is where you would like to spend eternity.
The man agrees, and Satan takes him down a long, dark hallway. Satan opens the first door. The man looks inside and sees thousands of people standing on their heads on a hardwood floor. The man says, "This looks too uncomfortable. Show me to the next room, please." Satan then walks the man down to the second door. The man looks inside and sees thousands of people standing on their heads on a concrete floor. The man says, "Oh, this is even worse. Please show me another room." Satan nods and takes him to the third door, and the man looks inside. He sees thousands of people standing knee-deep in human waste, all drinking coffee. The man says, "This is the place for me." Satan then asks,
Are you sure? Once the door closes, you can never go back.
The man says, "I'm positive. I do love coffee." The man steps in and Satan closes the door. Just before the man can get comfortable, a voice on the loudspeaker says,
Coffee break is over. Back on your heads.
A pilgrim was walking across a prairie when he came across a small town. Passing through the town, he noticed a saloon and decided to stop and quench his thirst. After ordering a beer, he stood at the bar and observed the other clientele in the saloon. Suddenly, the saloon doors swung open and a cowboy came running in yelling, "Big Jake's a-comin'!" Within seconds, the establishment had cleared, leaving the pilgrim and his beer alone at the bar. Sure enough, a huge 7.5-foot tall, 500-pound cowboy came swaggering in, tearing out the front door frame with his broad shoulders. The cowboy looked around the saloon, marched over to the pilgrim, picked him up by the scruff of his neck, and threw him over the bar, bellowing,
Give me a drink.
The pilgrim complied, placing the almost full bottle next to a glass on the bar. The cowboy tossed back the drink, then bit the neck off the bottle and emptied that too. At that point, the pilgrim, shaking in his boots, asked, "Sir, would you care for another?" To which the cowboy replied,
Nope, I gotta go. Big Jake's a-comin'.
This couple decides that they need a guard dog. The guy goes to a pet shop and says to one of the employees,
I need a guard dog to protect my house.
The employee responds, "I have the perfect dog for you." He then showed him a Chihuahua. The man was not impressed and said,
I need a dog that can guard our house and fend off burglars. A Chihuahua can't do that.
"Ah, but this is no regular Chihuahua. It's an attack Chihuahua," the employee said. "Here, I'll show you how it works. Attack Chihuahua, chair!" The employee pointed at a chair, and the guy and the employee watched as the Chihuahua destroyed the chair, leaving only splinters behind.
Wow,
The guy said.
but I still think we need a real guard dog.
"Are you sure?" he responded. "Here, I'll show you again. Attack Chihuahua, table!" He pointed to a table, and again, the Chihuahua absolutely destroyed the table. The man said,
Okay, I'll take it.
when he brought it home, his wife was very angry. "Why did you buy a Chihuahua?" she yelled.
Because,
He responded.
this is no ordinary Chihuahua. This is an attack Chihuahua.
She responded, "Attack Chihuahua my ass!" Two cannibals, a father and a son, were elected by the tribe to go out and get something to eat. They walked deep into the jungle and waited by a path. Before long, along came a little old man. The son said, "Oh, Dad, there's one."
No,
said the father.
there's not enough meat on that one to feed the dogs. We'll just wait.
A little while later, along came this really fat woman. The son said, "Hey, Dad, she's plenty big enough."
No,
The father said.
we'd all die of a heart attack from the fat in that one. We'll just wait.
About an hour later comes an absolutely gorgeous woman. The son said, "Now, there's nothing wrong with that one, Dad. Let's eat her."
No, said the father, we'll not eat her either.
"Why not?" asked the son.
Because we're going to take her back alive and eat your mother.